and welcome to the first episode of the StarStock Journey to $1,000. We'll get straight into it and talk about what we're looking to do and what our kind of strategy is for the upcoming season. So, as obviously the title suggests, we're looking to kind of grow our portfolio to $1,000. And I've been on StarStock now for about 3 weeks, just trying to get a use of how the website works, how the market works, in particular with StarStock. And what I've got to say is I've been really impressed in terms of just how engaging the market is, and just how intuitive and fun overall the experience has been. You know, it's something that encapsulates the best of the sports world, and as well as the stock market and kind of shares and card trading market as well. So definitely something that has been really enjoyable to kind of follow over the last kind of few weeks. So as I said, I've been on the system now for a few weeks, and I started with an initial $100 investment, and I've had 2 promo kind of benefits from there as well, so essentially $120, and right now we've got that balance here. So, you know, we've got an account balance sitting at $71, and we've also purchased some cards as well. So before we kind of get into that and go any further, for those of you that haven't signed up to StarStock and are interested in doing an account, you can use this promo code here, so Jonas there as that promo code, and using the capital J. And if you enter that promo code when you sign up, when you deposit $10 or more, you will actually receive an additional $10 from StarStock, and StarStock will actually send $10 to me as well. So it's definitely a win-win situation, and definitely something that, you know, if you're ever looking to kind of get into this and get involved, then it's a good way to go about it. But obviously, please do so responsibly as well. So we'll get straight into the things, straight into the swing of things here. And as you can see, so I've got $71 as my balance here as well. And we'll get into the collection. And you can see here the collection at the moment sitting. It's a small collection, but we've got $101 invested. So that added with the $71 balance, and we're sitting at $172 over the first couple of weeks. So not a bad start. You know, obviously if you take away the $20 that we've got from the promos, and we've basically got a position where we made $50. So pretty happy with that turnout. But you know, what I'm looking to do is really get an interactive involvement with the comments, with obviously the audience, and just see where we can kind of take this portfolio throughout the year. So as you can see, you know, it's a lot of kind of newer rookie classes that we've gone with. So especially, you know, the most recent 2019 draft class, and obviously a lot of these guys were kind of lottery picks here as well. So and the other thing as well you're going to notice is I've gone with Optic for the time being. So a lot of Optic based cards. Now, why essentially Optic? And I think the reasoning, especially early on, to going down the Optic route as opposed to, you know, maybe a Prism or a Select or even like a Mosaic, is that I think Optic, bang for buck wise, is probably some of the best value you're gonna find on StarStock. You know, I think the cards tend to follow, you know, the values of the likes of, you know, Prisms and Selects, but you're not paying that kind of premium that you are with those cards. And on top of that as well, I mean, the cards do look amazing. You know, here's this kind of Jaren Jackson here, and it's just a really simple, clean look. I actually like that kind of, you know, that kind of school photo kind of look there, and that kind of classic, simple look there. So it's not a whole lot going on, and it's a really kind of clean cut design. So kind of back to our portfolio and our collection here. Now let's get into, you know, who I've gone with and why I've essentially invested in the players that I've got here at the moment. So starting off with Jarrett Culver. So Jarrett Culver was the number 6 draft pick going back last year, and as a player it's kind of really gone under the radar and underperformed. You know, he was a player that was meant to be a very complementary player to someone like D'Angelo Russell, someone who could play off the ball and really complement Karl Anthony Towns. And, in the early part of his career, it just hasn't worked out that way. He's kind of been overshadowed by some of the other guys, and he's been solid, but I think there's definitely a lot of upside with him. And I think, if we just look at how he's performed recently, if you look at how he's gone in the preseason, this here, I think it has been very promising to see. He's getting some shots up. He's getting, I think, much more involved in the offense, and he's starting to shoot it a little bit better. Now, obviously, as the season has started, he hasn't necessarily followed that through, here as well. Look, an 0 for 10 game is pretty shocking, and then followed that up, obviously, with a 4-point game. But here, 20-point game against Denver, that's a good outcome. That's a good result. And I think he's going to have more of these games in him this season. I think the one thing I really like about it is, just look at these kind of field goal attempts. He's getting, those kind of double-digit attempts fairly consistently, and I think that is definitely a sign of a player that's involved in the rotation, involved in the game plan, and someone that, I think Minnesota really wants to kind of get involved as well and probably see something in him. So for the time being, he is much of a kind of a prospect player, but we'll definitely see how we go. So we've actually picked this card up for $6, and right now he's kind of trading between that $7 to $9 range. So next on is Kobe White. So Kobe White, one of the kind of bigger names in last year's draft class, definitely came on towards the end of last season. Was really kind of starting to take the reins of the Chicago Bulls, and really was putting up some big scoring games. Was scoring in kind of the 20 plus range fairly consistently, and so he's definitely been known as a scorer, and he's slowly starting to develop that kind of playmaking skill set. I think the addition of Billy Donovan is a great addition for someone like Kobe White. He's got a history of developing young players, and if you look at just what's happened with Shai as well, he's now developed into kind of a stud in the NBA. And so I think, with Kobe White, a lot of people are expecting kind of a similar outcome there as well. So just looking at, for instance, his recent kind of star stocks. So we'll go with these StarStock A's because that's what we've invested in for the time being. But, he had this period early preseason. He's played well. He's put in some games. He did hit a peak here, around kind of that, late December period. He was getting into the 30s, and he has slowly come down a little bit and stabilized. But to be honest, in terms of a trend line, I think that's a positive way to look at it. So he has stabilized. We've managed to get him at that $20 mark, which was actually, one of the lower buy points here, considering the very next sale was $28. So we've actually done all right in terms of how he's sitting for the time being. But, Kobe White, I think he's got a lot of potential to be a really good scorer in this league. I think as the season started, he has kind of come off a little bit, but I think give Billy Donovan some time and give Kobe White some time, and I think we'll definitely see him regain that form. Now next, DeAndre Hunter. So DeAndre Hunter is kind of a play for two reasons. I think, when you look into sports card investing, there's a number of factors you can look at. You can look at, what's their upside, what's their story as a player, what's their story in terms of the team that they're playing on, from a player aspect. Can you see them developing? Are they going from a role player to a starter? Are they going from a starter to a star player? What's happening in that sense there? Is the team getting better? Is the team now going to be on nationally televised games more often? Are they going to be a playoff team? Are they going to be a contender? There's lots of different factors that I think play into a player's value in the sports card market. And I think DeAndre Hunter is definitely a benefit from that. Now, you look at what the Atlanta Hawks have done, and to be honest, the Atlanta Hawks have been a team that I've been talking about for the last couple of months because I think the additions that I've made have been really, really good. They had a very sound, solid foundation. You look at guys like Trey and John Collins. two young, good players. They made the trade for Clint Capella, and I think he's now starting to get into the team. They drafted, obviously, DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish last year, and now on top of that, you add the likes of Rajon Rondo, Danilo Gallinari, and obviously Bogdan as well. And you've got a really good foundation for a team there, and I think that is just going to do wonders for the Atlanta Hawks this year. And I think that's why I've got them as a kind of a dark horse in the East. Now, obviously, in terms of investments, you look at someone like Trey, his price is going through the roof. I think someone like John Collins is a sound investment, but he's trying to play for a contract. He's also competing with the likes of Clint Capella for that kind of role as well. And then afterwards, you look at the two young guys. You look at DeAndre Hunter, who's the 4th overall pick last year, and then Cam Reddish, a lottery pick as well. And a lot of the sports card market is higher on Cam Reddish. And to me, I look at that and I actually see opportunity in someone like DeAndre Hunter. He's a guy that he does a lot of similar aspects to Cam Reddish. He's a diverse defender. He can play multiple positions. He can shoot the ball relatively well as well. And right here, as you can see, look, he's shooting 48% from 3 right now. Now, do I think that's going to last all season? No, that's not going to last all season. But for the time being, I mean, you look at the contributions that he's having, and he's putting up really consistent numbers. Now, just recently, he put up that 23-point game against Brooklyn. Obviously, backed it up with a 17-point game as well. But look, he's definitely into the rotation there. He's definitely getting his shots up every single game. And I think he's going to have a couple breakout games this year. And I think that's why he's going to be such a good bang for buck investment. And, if you're comparing him to someone like Cam Reddish, who I think are very similar in terms of the style of play that they are, I think, DeAndre Hunter just has naturally more upside on that benefit. So we actually managed to pick up DeAndre Hunter's optic for $6. And based on some of the most recent sales, he actually had a card that went for, look, there we go, $29.50 just recently. So, and I think it's way too early to kind of sell out of this position, in my opinion, because I think there's going to be a lot more upside to the Atlanta Hawks in general this season. Okay, and now Lonzo Ball. So this used to be 2 cards, and now it's just the 1. And with Lonzo Ball, what we've got here is a player that has had a roller coaster career. He's a guy who came in when he was drafted, was meant to be the next great point guard, had comparisons to the likes of Magic Johnson and Jason Kidd, and it just never really panned out for him in Los Angeles. He had LeVar Ball speaking to just about every media outlet just how great his son was, and he ended up being the next Laker great to just another trade chip and another trade piece in the Anthony Davis trade there. And I actually managed to grab 2 cards at the time for $8. And as you can see, his cards are now up to kind of $22 mark. And so I actually sold one of the cards not too long ago for $20. So by doing so, I had 2 cards, bought them for $16 in total, sold them for $20. I've now made $4 profit. And I'm now in a position where I've got 1 card, and I'm basically playing with house money in this case here. And I'm going to be riding and just seeing how Lonzo kind of plays out through the year. Lonzo's a guy who is definitely polarizing in the sport. He grabs a lot of attention. I think his spotlight has probably dimmed a little bit, but, he's going to be playing with someone like Zion, who's going to get a lot of highlight plays. The Pelicans, should be an exciting team to watch this year. I think Stan Van Gundy is going to have them playing and hopefully developing them into, a young up-and-coming team. So, Lonzo's had that extension, turned down, and he's now basically betting on himself. And so I think, you know, you combine that. I think he's fixed his jump shot. His jump shot looks completely different to how it was when he was with the Lakers and when he was drafted. And I think he's going to be a player that, you know, may surprise some people this year, but we'll just wait and see. We'll see what happens. And obviously, you know, he's definitely a player that the market will follow quite heavily. And last but not least is obviously Jaren Jackson. So, you know, we've just spoken about Lonzo being around that kind of $20 mark, and look at where Jaren Jackson's sitting. Now, Lonzo is a player who is a, you know, third, fourth, fifth option on a Pelicans team there. But, you know, you're talking about Jaren Jackson here, who is roughly the same price, and is arguably one of the best players, you know, the best, or, you know, even kind of like a 1A option on a borderline playoff team last year in the Grizzlies. And a lot of the sports card market has kind of forgotten about him because he's been injured. He injured himself late into the bubble and late into that kind of push, and he's now in a position where everyone's kind of jumping on the hot player, the hot prospect. You know, a couple of weeks ago, it was Kyle Guy and Taylor Holden Tucker. And, you know, next is going to be, you know, then it was KZ Okpala. And, you know, a lot of people kind of jump on these certain players. And for instance, you know, obviously some of the Atlanta Hawks players recently. But Jaren, he's a stud. I mean, he's going to be a future all-star player, you know. Obviously, I think we'll have to see that he comes back from injury, but, you know, bearing that he comes back and he's 100%, Jaren is, as I said, he's a beast. Like, he's a really, really good player, and I think for $20 or around that kind of mid-$20 mark, he's an absolute steal compared to other players. You've got guys like Lonzo and Kyle Kuzma, who are, as I said, third, fourth, fifth options, or bench players in the sense of Kyle Kuzma. And yeah, you got Jaren Jackson, who's, you know, the go-to guy. And so we actually picked up this card for $20. And you'll see here as well, you know, we made some attempts. We made some attempts to get him earlier, and were unsuccessful. You know, these were competitive bids at the time as well. And as you can see, you know, his prices have kind of gradually crept up. And I think, you know, they're going to be steady for this for a little bit of time until he comes back. But, you know, once he comes back and once he has, you know, a 20, 30-point game, which he's more than capable of doing, I think the market is definitely going to catch on to Jaren Jackson. Now, that's essentially where we're sitting in terms of our collection for the early period, for the first kind of couple of weeks, and where we're looking at. Now, let's go to activity and just see, you know, just what's kind of been going on. All right, so here we got Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen, I think, is another similar to a Jaren Jackson. He's not quite on Jaren's level, in my opinion, but I think that he has the ability, he has the talent, and he's still young. You know, he's been hampered with injuries recently. Right now as well, you know, he can't catch a break. He's out with COVID protocol, but he's a player that has upside, and he has been really good for Chicago early on. You know, just quickly having a look at what he's done kind of game-wise. Okay, so here, early on in the season, he's averaging 17 a game. You know, here we look at the preseason and what he's been doing. He's getting into that 20-point mark. He is a 20-point scorer, in my opinion. And, you know, he's someone that, you know, I think, again, whether the market has kind of given up on him or they've just kind of slept on him, I think he's definitely going to be someone to keep an eye on. So if we can get him for a decent price, then we'll do so. Jaren, again, you know, we're playing on that prism. We're looking to make a bid on that. And we'll see how we go, you know. I think once he starts playing, we're going to see this price skyrocket, in my opinion. You know, the market loves day-to-day games. They love what's happened recently, and guys that are injured don't get the attention, and it's only until they come back and score 30 on their team that everyone starts paying attention. So Darius Garland, another player who has really kind of broken out this year, another player that was kind of underperformed or underdeveloped in his rookie year, and he's doing well right now. You know, him and Colin Sexton are forming a kind of a Portland Trailblazers, CJ and Dame 2.0 type backcourt. Obviously not as good in my opinion, but you know, they're still young players, and we can see what's going to happen. PJ Washington, you know, first NBA rookie last year, played along. He's going to be playing alongside LaMelo Ball. He's going to get the chance to be in highlight clips. He's going to get the chance to maximize playing with LaMelo Ball. LaMelo's going to find opportunities to get him open, and hopefully he's able to kind of kick on and develop from where he was last year. Lonnie Walker, you know, I think kind of the under the radar San Antonio Spur, if you ask me. You know, a lot of the attention goes towards the likes of DeJounte Murray and especially the likes of Keldon Johnson so far. But Lonnie Walker, I think, has got the chance to really establish himself as a solid contributor to that San Antonio team. After that, Mikal Bridges, you know, has been a breakout player so far for the Suns. And I think, you know, the way he's playing on both ends of the court, he's really developing into a nice player. Now, right now, I think our initial bid, as I said, it was fair at the time this bid was made, but now we're slowly seeing that price creep up, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, my earlier Jaren bids, Cam, you know, I may have said that, you know, I'm higher on DeAndre in terms of his price, but I still think Cam Reddish is a really good prospect. You know, you look at just how he plays with Atlanta, he's definitely someone that they call upon at times to kind of score the ball for him. Mitchell Robinson, you know, I'm not a player that I'm particularly high on or as high as other players, but, you know, every now and then I think if you can make a bid on a player that has good potential, that has, you know, athleticism in them and has some excitement to them, and look, if you can get it for $2, then that's a steal, but we'll see what happens from there. Jonathan Isaac, you know, a guy that's just recently got $80 million from the Orlando Magic, and to me is a player that we could get for a steal this year. You know, I think he's going to be out all year. There's probably going to be some point people are going to sell because they're going to want to put their money into someone else. They're going to want to put their money in the hot player, and that's going to cause opportunities for someone like Jonathan Isaac. And then obviously Colin Sexton, you know, a guy that was much more reasonably priced, or should I say, it was definitely a cheaper prospect in preseason and earlier in the year. But right now, just based on the way he's playing, he's balling out, and his prices are reflecting that. And then obviously DeJounte Murray was a guy who, again, was kind of under the radar to start off with, went a little bit too conservative, and he's gone up quite a lot. And then Drew Holiday as well. You know, this Drew Holiday bid, it looks ambitious, but at the time, you know, the cards were, as you will see here, the cards were selling for $7. You know, so $2 below that isn't too out of the ballpark. But you know, regardless, you know, it didn't take long for the kind of market to kind of catch on and for those prices to kind of skyrocket. But likewise, he has kind of come down since. But anyway, so that is where we sit after the first couple of weeks of the NBA season. Now, like I said at the beginning, I really want to kind of make this an interactive series and just see where we can go. See where certain players are looking, see just what kind of trends we can find. And you know, that's where I really want to see what you guys think in the comments. Comment below and see what, you know, who you think we should invest in. You know, as we kind of build this portfolio up, we will look into alternative cards, whether it be selects, or whether it be prisms, or whether it be, you know, even mosaics or Donrusses, or something that, you know, like your parallels as well. You know, it's not necessarily going to always be optic, but I think just for the time being, optic is a pretty sound way to start. So we'll wrap it up there for episode 1. Remember again, for those who haven't signed up and would like to, if you enter this code here, which is the promo code there, you will receive $10 as part of your initial $10 investment, or when you deposit $10 or more, and that $10 will be added to the account here, and we'll see where we can go from here. And otherwise, take care, and see you in the next episode.